Welcome back to another Purpose Served podcast episode. Um, to me, it's really nutty and insane that we've made it to episode 50. How crazy is that? You know what I mean? I I remember when I first started this podcast. Not even before I even started this podcast, I was doing background information and research and listening to statistics about successful podcasts and what makes a podcast bad and all of that, you know what I mean, and keeping all of those things in mind. And I remember hearing one thing specifically, and I don't remember from where, to be quite honest, but the dude was like, um, after 7 podcasts, that's when you know if a podcast is going to be a flop or not, or that's when majority of people stop after the first 7 podcast episodes. But it's kind of to me crazy that before that point, when I just still this when the podcast was simply an idea that I knew I was going to pursue. It was one of those things where I wanted to be as prepared as possible, you know, while cooking all of these things up. And I believe this is around October. No, before that, I think September of 2020. So we're all pretty much like a year and a half, going on 2 years, with doing this. It's been, of course, not a exponential growth with it, but the people that I've met, the support that I've got, it's like it's an amazing thing, to be quite honest, man. All the guests that was on there, and with a few being making an exception, such as Sean, Purvis, who else? Gerald, who was also on there. But besides like that small group and my mom, of course, a lot of the other guests were people I met after I started Purpose Served, and getting them to come on a podcast and talk about their journey and what they're doing. And this episode specifically, this podcast is going to be very, you know, very special to me, personally speaking. And this is episode will be dedicated to the city I was born and raised in, and that's Newark, New Jersey. You know, the bricks, man, Brick City. Before I was born, um, even before my mom and dad was born, you know, I remember around the time last year just hearing my grandmother talk about the Newark riots and how she experienced that, and pretty much the culture shock that she even went through, moving from down south to the north for the first time. And rest in peace to my aunt Barbara Jean. When she first linked up with them and realized that what I mean, that she can hit white people. To any white person that's listening, sorry about this. I'm about to make y'all feel real uncomfortable, but that goes to show, like, in the times, like, I believe that was around like the '60s, where she was coming from, where it was like there was no disrespect tolerated, and there were consequences for even looking at white people a certain way. And there were times where she told me with my great grandfather that due to how rebellious he was, that they were oftentimes coming to like her house to pretty much kill him or like lynch him. Like, this stuff is like this real, But soon they found their way to Newark, and that this is around the time when like the Newark riots is like starting to cook up and everything, and martial law was instilled in that city, and I can't even imagine what honestly it would be like to be going through that, you know, and it had to be uh, very challenging times, man. I really can't honestly fathom it. You feel me? But this is all the things that make the city what it is. You know what I mean? You gotta you got a city with so much heart, like lion heart. You know what I mean? And that's where I developed, like honestly, who I am today, man. To like under no matter what circumstances, I feel as though I can get past it. You know what I mean? And it's for damn sure because of how I was brought up, what I seen my mom go through, what I seen my dad go through, and also what I seen my family members go through, and some of my friends, my cousins, my aunts. Like at certain stretches and certain points, it's not easy. You know, especially depending on the circumstances that you in. You know what I mean? When you're not blessed with the same resources as everybody else, man. And when I first got moved to South Jersey, and this is around the time I want to say I was like 13. It was like for real, like a culture shock, and being in a suburban area where everybody carried themselves so much, like it was different. It was real different, and it was like honestly uncomfortable for me. And it took me like 2 years to adjust, 3 years to adjust, man. As simple as it not being as many street lights, you feel me? Um, Outside, so it's like, bruh, it's too dark out here. From streetlights being every pretty much 10 feet or 15 feet, you feel me? But I was born in, I believe, St. Michael's Hospital in Newark, which is, I believe, like the downtown area of Newark. And growing up, this is something that I touched on a little bit on the previous podcast, and especially I believe the two podcast episodes where my mom was on here. I believe one of them is called Emotional Intelligence, and the other one is called Super Trooper Mom. And in those, we talk about our background a little bit and like our upbringing. And my mom definitely 100%. She struggled to get where she is today, and I got so much, love and respect for her because it takes a huge amount of courage to take the leaps and bounds that she did, and it was very, very unusual the way that she did it and the way that she got through it. You know what I mean? And these last week or so, when I have been talking to my mom, I just been telling her that she's an anomaly, because it just simply don't happen. And if it wasn't for her, I believe that me and my brother wouldn't be in a situation where we are now. And even with the aspirations that we hold, she definitely instilled some really, really strong core values within us. And the same thing, with my dad, which is like, family is very, very important. And you literally, if you have people that you love around you, and it's the energy is reciprocal, then you definitely going to have a tight bond that you can grow from there, even when times get kind of rocky. But going back to my real early younger days, I went to preschool at Sherman Community Daycare, I think it's called, and this is around the time when I really, 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 was starting to act out like as a 5-year-old, man. Just and at New Horizon, I'm pretty sure now all of these schools have turned into like North Stars and North. But after I went to Sherman, I went to New Horizon, and I wasn't at New Horizon for long, to be quite honest. At the time, it was a fairly new chartered school, and I eventually got kicked out because of how much trouble I was getting into constantly, and they constantly had to call my mom to come and do something about me acting a fool, and she wouldn't want me talking about this, man. But she'd come in that school, you know what I mean, and pretty much tear me up. And sometimes I did get tore up in front of class. I get my ass whooped. But um, this is a lot of things like for me, man. That stubbornness, man. That hard head, pulse. That hard head would be developed um during this time where you know I didn't. I This is when consequences like really started to not matter, and when I did get in trouble, all it did was like make me more angry. So eventually, I got kicked out of New Horizon, and this is kindergarten for me, people. This is kindergarten for me, and what kindergarten? You're like 6, 7 years old, and I ended up going to school around the corner at Newton Street, which is pretty much I believe it's off of South Orange Avenue. I believe so. You know what I mean? Near like UMDMJ, like that area, and I got kicked out of New Horizon. I ended up going to Newton, which still, uh, I none of this stuff improved my behavior, and this is something that I talked about on one of the podcast episodes. I can't remember, but um, I fell in love with reading around this time. I used to really, really like reading, and there was an SFA program where it was just pretty much a reading program. And like I said, when I was like in the first grade, kindergarten, I was on a fourth, fifth grade reading level, and they would put me in a class with fourth and fifth graders and stuff like that. And I didn't feel uncomfortable in there, to be quite honest. But other than that, I would do things like walk out of class, like you know what I mean. They would have to find me in a building because I'd just be running around like doing whatever. Um, and there was this teacher I had, Miss Miranda. She was a old mean hag, yo. And there was this other teacher in the back as well, and they used to do this BS where they used to put tape at the end of a ruler, and then like if you did anything, they'll whack your hands with it, But I didn't really care, I eat my lunch in there and stuff like that. But I also would take like a milk carton and just straight smash it with the bottom of my fist, like doing stuff like that. You know what I mean? Just doing anything to freaking to be bad. But I wouldn't say at the time it was just like I forced it. Like it was natural to me. It was weirdly enough, it was very natural to me, and I was more often than not getting in trouble than I was good. So I would have to do things like eat in the principal's office, stay in the principal's office. They'll bring my work in there. My mom would sometimes have to come and sit with me in school. And at the time, I believe she was in the National Guard. She was working at Continental, and her ends wasn't. She wasn't making ends meet. It was really, really tough for her around that time. And having two boys, me and my brother Devontae, which I'll say at the time he wasn't as bad as me, but she would lose out on money by coming and sitting with me. But like I said, 6, 7 year old, you're not really thinking about your mom losing money from work. You don't even really have a concept of that yet. And around this time, we were starting to like really move around a lot. I remember we were staying on Goldsmith Avenue across the street from Weekway Park for a little bit. And then after that, from there, I believe we stayed with my aunt's boyfriend at the time on First Baldwin off of Avon Avenue. And this is the time when we transferred over from Newton Street to Lower Maple Annex off of, I think, Lyons Avenue, across from Beth Israel, man. And still, I was acting a fool. And this is now around the time which I talked about. I gotta coin these phrases. The previous podcast episode. But I was going to the crisis intervention program, so I would have to leave school early. From I think I went to Lower Maple when I was in the second grade. So I think second and third grade, I was going to crisis intervention, and this was around like I'll say 1:30 p.m. I would go there and school would get out, I believe, at 3 o'clock. And this is around the time when they started having aides with me in the class, so to make sure I won't act a fool, and I still was acting a fool. Also, this is around the time when I definitely was starting to get a little tougher, and thanks to like my cousins, such as like Rara, man. So much love to Rara, Raheem, Kabir, Kiki, Boo Boo, Hasna, Sumeya, Solid, Musab, man. Shout out to all of y'all, man. If I left any of y'all out, I do apologize. But um, I looked at my cousin Rara as like an older brother because I was at the time the oldest between me and my brother, and I used to sometimes even go to school and lie and say that I had an older brother. You know what I mean? And I'm like, yo, my brother come here and whoop one of y'all ass. But yeah, I did that probably like from like the third to like sixth grade, to be quite honest, man. Because I always wanted to know what it felt like to have like a legit older brother. You know what I mean? At the time, being the oldest wasn't that cool to me, but also at the time, it was just me and my brother. We didn't have a clan that we do now. But yeah, man, it was. But you had to get tough, man. You had to if you live in Newark, you're not leaving Newark without squabbling. It is what it is. You're going to squabble, And I remember going to places like JFK, Green Acres, and these is places where you know what I mean. You're gonna get into a squabble. You know what I mean. You're gonna get your stuff stolen. At the pool, somebody gonna take your sneakers, and you know what I mean. And you're gonna have to see somebody for taking your sneakers. And around the time, like I said, I'm still incredibly, incredibly young, like 8, 9 years old, 10 years old, around this time. But like I said, it's developing this lion heart, you know what I mean, that you need to have, that I personally feel as though you need to have in order to take on the world, you know what I mean, because the world, high key, is more cruel than that. Like, it really is. Like, all reality, to be quite honest. And these is things that definitely honed my toughness, like, for real, for real. And around third grade, I had a teacher, Miss Smith, going back to going back to me being who I was, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of kids in elementary school. I wonder if you guys had the 3-card system where it was green, yellow, and red. But every time you did something, it goes from green to yellow, and if you did something else, it goes from yellow to red. And Miss Smith, she used to have these weekly progress reports that we used to have to turn in to our parents and have them signed over the weekend. And let me tell y'all, when I say that my progress report was always on slow down or stop, stop at this red light. It was never on go. So bringing those progress reports home was like, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, and around this time, staying at my grandmother's house over in Evergreen in North Newark, like the Stephen Crane buildings. And also, like, my mom is just trying to find a solid place to live. You feel me? And around this time, we ended up living on Isabella, in the Hooterville area, man. We was on 158 Isabella, right on the corner, and we went to Alexander Street, which I believe now is a chartered school as well. I think it's North Star. But yeah, that's definitely that was those was challenging times around there as well, man. And I remember, I think the second night we was living there, um we had the I remember we was eating Chinese food, and they literally was shooting right outside our house, on the crib, on the side of our house, just cutting the lights off and just simply eating the Chinese food in the dark on the floor. You know what I mean? But it is kind of crazy. You know what I mean? That depending on where you're from in your environment, shit like that is normal. You know what I mean? It's like it's extremely normal. But when you go to other places that's outside of that, you know what I mean? You look at it like this is weird. You know what I mean? Like I said, like when I first came down to the suburbs, that's exactly like the vibe that I got. Like this is real weird. You know what I mean? But around the fourth grade, on Isabella, this is where I first learned how to dribble a basketball from this girl named Titi, who lived two houses down from us, who stayed with her grandmother and her uncle Chris. You know what I mean? Bulls off it. But yeah, and I learned. She taught me and my brother how to dribble a ball between our legs. You know what I mean? So for those of y'all who think that girls is doo-doo at basketball, y'all better check yourselves, man. There's a couple of girls out there that'll really cook y'all, to be quite honest. But yeah, I learned how to dribble the ball in between my legs, and around this time, that's since I was no real baskets around. That's all I did was high key just dribble. You know what I mean? And one mixtapes was popping around the time, and I remember watching dudes like Escalator, Hot Sauce, the Professor, White Chocolate. You know what I mean? Jason Williams, who was in the league, but Skip to my Lou, who's also a freaking legend, Rafe Alston, and I liked basketball a lot, but I guess the love wasn't there as it as it grew to be. But this is when things like the seed was planted. You feel me? And also in the fourth grade, that's when I picked up another skill of mine and talent of drumming, thanks to Devin Miles at A&T. What's his face? Drumline. Man, oh man, that like drumline definitely influenced me to play the drums. And before I got to Alexander, I was at Big Maple, and at Big Maple, I wanted to play the drums, but too many people was playing the drums, so the only available instrument to play was the violin, and I'm like, that shit's corny. I'm not playing no violin. Give me some drumsticks. That's what I really want. And I couldn't do that. And after fast forward back to Alexander, I wasn't playing no instruments there. We wasn't even there for that long. So, and I believe in the fourth grade, I went to Big Maple, Alexander, and then ended up at GW in Hillside. And around this time, I really, really, really started, I guess, getting good at the drums, and just literally just playing a snare drum at first, just playing a snare drum. Just wanted to do everything on a drumline movie. Just I would literally watch that movie religiously and go through those scenes and try to literally play every single drumming scene, just like how the band did it or how Devin did it. I was really, really obsessed. And also, we was going to Living Logos at the time, church off of Clinton Place. And this was, now we're talking about 11, 12 years old for me. But when there was nobody drumming, sometimes like me and my brother, would just develop enough nuts to just walk up and get behind the drums and start playing. You know what I mean? Not all the time. There was like few moments, and develop that courage to step into it and do it. But eventually, they started letting me drum for the church, and that was a really, really dope and cool experience, man. And it's crazy. Definitely around that time, things just started to get really, really interesting. You know what I mean? Just the play out of everything. Like around this time now, my brother Chris is along for the picture. My brother Devin, at the time, so they was born when I believe I was 10 and 11, actually. Yeah, 10 and 11, 2004 and 2005, and they're starting to make me feel real old. Like my sister's birthday just passed. Like I said, give her a birthday shout out. She just turned 15. Shout out to you, bitch. Sis. Love you. Hold the thought real quick of what I was saying. I had a conversation with her recently on the phone, and I told her that I gave her a birthday shout out on a podcast, and I remember me specifically saying in the podcast, like, I know you're probably not listening, but I love you, and just sending my birthday wishes to her, and proud of her for the person that she's becoming. And she told me that she listened to it. So in that moment I did feel hella stupid, to be quite honest. But my brother Devontae birthday is coming up this Saturday, and that's somebody that, man, that's somebody I learned a lot from, man. My little brother Devontae, man. That's crazy. Growing up, man, he was a punk. My brother Devontae was a punk growing up, man. But as time went on, he definitely ditched that punk vibe, man. You know what I mean? And now, I got huge respect, for the man that he's become and what he's doing, especially for the city of Newark. You know what I mean? And we constantly talk about all the time that at some given point, like, we want to give back to the city so bad, man. So bad. Like, he goes out in the summer to like record the Branch Brook Parkleys, going out the Weekway, the 1v1s, man. Shout out to Smooth Joe, man. Boy is a super bucket. He putting Jersey on the map. He definitely 100% put Newark on the map, man. And as a hooper, that's somebody that, you know what I mean, that I got a lot of respect for. And also, man, like, he's doing something huge, man. Featured on Ball is Life for one of the 101s, man. Like, and playing that Weekway, playing at JFK, man. Like, it's such a gritty basketball. Like, there you going to the lane, man. Ain't no calling no fouls. Ain't no doing that. You're going to get hit, but you better finish. You feel me? And crazy enough, man. Of course, when growing up, like, I want to say once I got to high school, playing on the main baskets at JFK with the grown men. Playing with the grown men at JFK on the main basket, the 3-on-3s, 4-on-4s, man. It was like cool, man, because when I would go to, play at JFK, where else? Weekway Park, Branchbrook Park, you know what I mean? I mean, it's not like I had some notable rep, because I honestly didn't, but I got respect for, like, who I was, like, you know what I mean? And the dude that could shoot got a little jumper, you know what I mean? Got the Kobe moves, pull ups. That's when, me trying to do turnaround fadeaways. But that's when coming back to South Jersey and where I was at, I wasn't getting that same love and I wasn't getting that same respect. It was literally quite the opposite, you know what I'm saying? And going back to my days going to Living Logos on Clinton Place and playing drums at the church. Um, I would get a $25. Me or my brother would get a $25 because my brother played Devontae played the drums as well, and we would kind of alternate. I would definitely play more than him, but I don't know, man. I was mean as hell to my brother growing up. I was mean as hell to all my brothers growing up. I'm not even going to lie. I was definitely a jerk. I was a jerk. You know what I mean? But um, we would take that $25 and we would go around the corner back when my auntie Keisha, God bless her soul, really do miss her to this day. Uh, but we would go around there. We would go around the corner on Aldine, and with that $25, we would go to the corner store, like right around the corner on Clinton Ave, and we would get cheesesteaks, man. Get cheesesteaks for me, Devontae, Raheem, Talib, and chips and everything. For them, man, it's like a whole check would be spent that that Sunday before we even left North. That money was gone, but that's something that we looked forward to. You know what I mean? Eating and chilling with them, and they were like still to this day like brothers, like legit brothers. You know what I mean? And they were they were real tough, man. You know what I mean? And they still got major heart, man. And I learned a lot from them. And I learned how to be selfless from them. I learned how to, even if it's my last, to give it up if I felt as though somebody else needed it, because they would do the same for us. And this is like it was natural. You know what I mean? It didn't feel like something that was forced. You know what I'm saying? And over time, all of these qualities, man, they grew with me over time. Like they really did grow with me over time. And now, at the very moment, man, my biggest thing that I personally want to do is just be able to, open JFK back up, man, and have proams there, have community events there, you know, so many things, so many different ideas to have, something for these younger kids to go to and to make something and dream big and to create and not let the limited beliefs or the circumstances that they're placed in, you know what I mean, due to like a like a lot of kids in Newark, man, they go through it on a daily basis, man, just literally fighting to survive, you know what I mean? Like, like you got little kids with semi-automatics and fully automatic weapons, and they're in the seventh grade, and they'll kill somebody, they'll shoot somebody, but you gotta go through an immense amount of pain and struggle for that to, like, to feel as though you really have to do that and it's necessary. You know what I mean? Because at the same time, if you can get got, you know what I mean, and that's kind of crazy that that's just the reality. That's just the reality of the environment. But that's not the environment. You know what I mean? It's just and everywhere you go, you got your pros and your cons. You feel me? Everywhere you go, and that's just a part of the cons. You know what I mean? The gang culture, all of that, and a lot of these people, don't really know what it's like to grow up in a tight knit family. They don't know what it's like to have family members that got successful businesses or going off to college, getting their degrees. But you do have people in the city that have done that, give that back to the city, and have the same aspirations that me and my brother do, man. And we also got some. noteworthy people to come from the city. Whitney Houston was born in Newark, and grew up in East Orange. Shaquille O'Neal, he's from Newark. Kanye West at one point, when he was pushing his beats and music, he stayed in Newark. Redman, he's from Newark. Um, who else that I possibly am leaving off? But yeah, the city is so freaking is very very near and dear to my heart. Majority of my family still lives there. In fact, my immediate family is from Newark, like straight up from Brick City, man. And shout out to literally, like I said before, all my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, my friends. Like, I got so much love for y'all. I got so much love for the city, and in due time, I will give back. You know what I mean? But it starts to me with the awareness to put this out there. You know what I mean? And also to the people in the city that's making it happen and doing what they gotta do, and beat the odds that was definitely stacked against them. You know what I mean? You come from North, you live in North, you automatically got a chip on your shoulder. And for me, this is where I grew on my intellect, got on his truth from wanting to seek knowledge. This is what sparked my basketball dreams, which turned into like a real thing, and also my form of expression through music, such as playing the drums, you know. And for that, my heart really, really do go out to the city and to all the ones that lost their lives in the city and died in the city. My heart goes out to you guys as well. And I'm gonna challenge anybody that's listening to this and you come from North. Push yourself to be the best version that you can be. Serve your purpose. Serving is an action, and the goal is the purpose. So take action towards your goal and serve your purpose, and show the people that they are more capable of than what they think, in spite of the adversity that they're constantly going through. So please like, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel, download the podcast, leave a review. But this is episode 50. We halfway to the 100th episode. I literally have no plans of stopping anytime soon. And like I said, be on the lookout for the digital planners coming out really soon, and also the software program, the Purpose Serve Tracker, is on the way as well. With that being said, serve your purpose and deuces. Peace out.